What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. We got another great episode for you today. Today we're going to be taking a little break from listing reviews, and we are actually going to be going over the top 5 things to make sure you're doing when you're communicating with your guests. Communication is extremely important, and if it's done properly, it's really going to help you, your Airbnb, and your guest experience. If it's done improperly, it's going to really hurt you, hurt your ratings, and hurt your guest experience. That being said, we're going to go over the top 5 things that I make sure I do when I'm communicating with all my guests. Some of these may seem pretty obvious, but please stick around to the end. There's going to be a couple ones in there that are probably going to surprise you. As always, guys, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It really helps out the channel. And let's jump right in. Number 1, guys, is very simple. It is respond quickly. Now, this one may seem pretty obvious, but I definitely want to go over it. It's extremely important, and I really want to talk about what it means to respond quickly, because there's going to be a lot of different interpretations out there. You guys can let me know if you agree or disagree, but this is my philosophy on responding quickly. So 1, for inquiries, Airbnb will actually start timing you, and they'll start dinging you if you don't respond to inquiries within 24 hours. Additionally, I've heard they really want to see you respond within an hour. Me personally, it's 15 minutes. I want to respond to all inquiries within 15 minutes because the guests, they may have messaged other hosts. And so if those other hosts are responding quicker, they may feel like those other hosts are paying more attention to them. They may book those other places over mine. So I always want to be the first host to respond. 15 minutes is absolutely the longest I ever want to go, but ideally for inquiries, I actually prefer to respond within 5 minutes. Okay. Additionally, moving on in the reservation after you get the booking, you still want to pay attention to your guest. Your guest will notice the difference. If your guest is sending you messages and you're not responding for 4 or 5 hours, they're not going to feel like you really care about them. So it's important to respond quickly to those throughout the communication process and the reservation process, all the way till the end, till checkout, and so on and so forth. Your guests will definitely appreciate it. There is a specific metric for communication, and if you are responding quickly, your guests are far more likely to give you a higher rating in that communication category. So this will help your reviews on Airbnb. It will help your overall performance of your listing, and it's definitely something great to do where your guests will really enjoy the experience. But once again, guys, make sure you respond quickly, ideally within 15 minutes. Now, some people may be saying, how am I supposed to do that? I have another job and I'm just a single person who's hosting, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of different ways out there to do it. My preferred way is to use my property management software. I use Guesty for Pros. You can actually check it out. It's in the link below in the description. But there's a lot of different automations you could use for Guesty for Pros. Additionally, there's one specific automation where if I don't respond to an inquiry, it will actually send out an automated message after 30 minutes, kind of apologizing for the delay. It is very rare that this automated message goes out, but once again, I'd rather the guest get something if someone sends me an inquiry at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm sleeping, or whatever reason I'm absolutely tied up where I can't respond. So these are some of the options you could look into. Definitely check out some automated messaging softwares. These are definitely the way to go. It's way better than just not responding to your guests. That being said, guys, let's jump right into number 2. Number 2 is details, details, details. Make sure you are being extremely detail-oriented when you are responding to your guests. This is very important. This will not only help your guests have a better experience because all their questions will be getting answered in a timely fashion and organized fashion, but it will also help you as the host because you will have to be responding to less follow-up questions. Because if you answer a question, the guest doesn't really understand your response or they need more information for your response, they are going to send you a follow-up question, and that is going to take more of your time. But also, this is what I try to do when I'm communicating with a guest, but I always try to put myself in the guest's shoes. What I mean by that is, remember, your guests may have never been to that area. They may have never been to your house or probably haven't been to your house before. They don't know what's going on locally. They don't know the neighborhood. They don't know what's in your house and what's not in your house. So make sure you're being incredibly detail oriented when you're responding to these guests, and you will see it will pay big rewards in your reviews. People will appreciate that you are being very detail oriented, that you're trying to think about things through their eyes, and you're trying to be very specific. And an example of what I mean by that is if somebody says, hey, where's your iron? Don't say it's in the bedroom closet. Say, hey, it's in the back bedroom closet on the top shelf on the left side of the closet. If somebody asks where the cutting boards are, say, hey, it's in the kitchen, the cabinet 2 to the right of the stove on the bottom. Be very specific. Again, sometimes your guests will respond with follow-up questions. Other times, they may just get a little bit anxious or a little bit irritated that they didn't get enough information, and you're never gonna hear about it until the review. And in the review, you're gonna hear things like, oh, the check-in instructions were unclear. Oh, the listing said it had an iron in it, but we couldn't find the iron. And you never wanna hear about those things in the review. So just remember, make sure when you're communicating with your guests, details, and always try to put yourself in your guest's shoes. You saw it correct, guys. Number 3 is stop saying no. As strange as that sounds, I mean it. Stop using the word no. Now, this doesn't mean your guests can just do whatever they want and everything they ask you, you just have to say yes to. This just means avoid using the word no as much as possible. No is a very negative word. Nobody likes hearing the word no, and it absolutely will affect their experience during their stay, before their stay, or after their stay, when they look back if they heard the word no a lot. So I'll give a couple little examples of that, and I've had some pretty weird examples over the years, but I'll just give some basic ones. So one basic is, hey, I would like an early check-in, but you as the host know there's a guest checking out that morning. So I don't tell them, no, you can't do that. What I say is, unfortunately, I do have a guest who's checking out that morning, and my cleaners will be there to prepare the place. However, you could drop off your luggage if you like, go grab a bite to eat, and check out the local attractions while the cleaners finish preparing the place for you. Again, avoiding that word no. And I don't care how strange the request is. Let's say one of your guests is like, hey, I'd like to get picked up by a hot air balloon in my backyard at 3 p.m. the day after I check in. Can you make that happen? Simply say, I'll look into that, and then tell them, unfortunately, the hot air company nearby said they weren't able to accommodate that a few minutes later, whatever the situation may be. Additionally, at my Airbnbs, I actually, one of them in particular, I do not have a grill there. However, a lot of people ask me, do you have a grill? And I notify them. I don't say, no, I don't have a grill. I say, unfortunately, there's no grill on site. I do, however, have a grill pan that can be used on the stove, or I allow my guests to bring a grill if they like. And that is definitely something you can do. But again, I try to avoid using the word no. It just has a negative connotation to it. So I'd recommend staying away from it and trying to figure out more creative ways to tell your guests no. And number 4 is the power of options. And once you understand the power of options and use this tool effectively, you will have way better communication with your guests. Your guests will have an overall better experience, and you could actually make money off of it. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. But what is the power of options? Well, it's exactly what it is. It's about giving your guests options, especially in situations where you can't accommodate them. Nobody likes feeling like they have only one choice, and people really don't like feeling like they have no choice. So I like to give my guests options whenever they give me a request that maybe I can't accommodate or maybe is unavailable. I'll give you an example of that. So if a guest checks into one of my Airbnbs, asks me to watch Hulu, I don't provide Hulu. So again, rule number 3, I am not gonna say no. What I'm gonna say to that guest instead is I'm gonna say, Unfortunately, we do not have Hulu. However, our smart TV allows you to sign into whatever streaming service you'd like. And that includes Hulu if you have your own login, or you could watch the streaming service we provide, which is Netflix. And again, this now gives the guests two different options. Now they feel a little bit better. More importantly, it feels like you tried to solve their problem and you tried to give them some way where they could experience what they were trying to experience without getting exactly Hulu. So, where this one actually comes into play, not only most often, but it also can be utilized to make your guests have a much better experience and make you more money, is for the most commonly asked question, which is, do you have early check-in or late check-out? When I first launched my Airbnbs, I used to make a big mistake when people would do this. I would basically tell them, hey, I can either give you an extra hour maybe, or I'm gonna have to wait until we get a little bit closer to see if those days haven't been booked by someone else. And unfortunately, this was actually a big mistake that I used to make, because looking back on it, I realize now that it probably gave my guests a lot of anxiety when they're sitting there. Maybe they have an early flight that gets into town, or maybe they have a late flight the day they're leaving, and they're sitting there just wondering what they're gonna do with that extra time, and they're either waiting for you, or if you do just give them an extra hour like I used to do, it doesn't really help their situation because they're coming into town way earlier, they're leaving way late. And then I realized they need an option to have that time. And so what I started doing is I started telling guests, hey, this is what I do for early check-in, this is what I do for late check-out. I have two options. And I would make sure I have one option in there that's free, and then I would also have an option in there where I charge. So I basically would say to a guest, hey, when you get to town, if you want to drop off your luggage at noon, you could do so, and then you could hit the sites or go grab lunch. And as soon as my cleaners are finished, you could go ahead and settle in. That option is free. However, if you would like guaranteed early check-in or late check-out, then this is going to require me to block the night before or block the day after for you. And for that, I'm going to charge you X fee. However, you'll be able to check in or check out as late as you like. And what actually happened when I did that is my guests started responding extremely well to that option. Not only were they paying for it, but they were thanking me, because now they didn't have to worry about, hey, if they had a 10 p.m. flight, they didn't have to worry about what they were going to do from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. when they have to go to the airport. What are they going to do with all their luggage? What are they going to do with all that time? They can now just relax and enjoy the day. And then when they're done, they could pack up their stuff and head to the airport. Guests absolutely loved it. They not only thanked me, and they still thank me to this day. It happens all the time. I use this. Go ahead and take this tip and use it. But that is the power of options, and guests will appreciate if you give them options. I bet you're wondering, did I read that correctly? And yes, number 5 is do not apologize. Now there is an asterisk there. The reason why there's an asterisk is, of course, if you do something wrong, if you make a big mistake, then of course you should take responsibility and apologize to your guests for that. Those aren't the situations I'm talking about. I do find that hosts tend to apologize way more than they should, and more importantly, they apologize for things that are not their fault and way out of their control. And so why am I telling you to stop apologizing for those things? The reason why is, when you apologize, it signifies that you did something wrong. That's the implication. You're sorry because you did something wrong. But more importantly, psychologically, when people hear someone apologize to them, they feel like someone did something wrong to them. And you don't want your guests to feel that way. And so I'm going to give you a few examples and a few situations where maybe you could utilize this tool of not apologizing and still taking great care of your guest. Okay? So what I'll say about this is, don't apologize, be solutions oriented, and be thankful. There's a difference. There's a big difference. So if I have a guest that calls me that says, hey, my furnace just went out, it's cold, we need heat. Thank you for notifying me. I'm going to send someone over right now to repair your furnace. In the meantime, you could go to XYZ. It's a great local spot. You'll have plenty of fun there, whatever the situation may be. Again, thank the guest and then solve the problem. The furnace breaking is not actually your fault unless you knew something was wrong with the furnace in advance of their stay. There are situations that have come up like that all the time where people go, hey, my flight was delayed and I couldn't check in today. And the host goes, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Well, the moment you say that, now they're gonna go, okay, well, can I get a refund for this day? Well, no, that's not your fault. Again, someone messages me, says, hey, my flight got delayed. I'm not gonna be checking in today. I say, thank you for notifying me. The place will be ready for you as soon as you're in town, and I hope you have safe travels. And that's it, and we move on. And again, the guest does not feel like something's been done wrong to them because I'm not apologizing to them. And more importantly, you shouldn't apologize unless you did something actually wrong. So if you gave your guest the wrong check-in code and they struggled to get in the house and had to call you, yeah, apologize for that. That was clearly your mistake. But if something goes a little bit wrong in your guest's life or even at your property that was outside of your control, that is not your fault, and you should not be apologizing for that. So if the internet goes down, don't apologize for that. You're not the cable company. That happens. If their Uber driver didn't show up on time and they missed the show, whatever the situation may be, you don't need to apologize unless it's something that directly was in your control. And if you do this, I bet your guests will have a better experience because they won't feel like something was done wrong to them. And more importantly, you'll get hit with a lot less people asking you for refunds for things that you have absolutely no control over. So again, treat your guests phenomenal. And I do treat my guests phenomenal. But I don't apologize unless it was 100% my fault. If it was out of my control, I thank them for letting me know, and then I solve the problem immediately. And that's what I do to take care of my guests. So that's it, guys. I hope you liked those 5 tips to better communication. To recap, make sure you're responding quickly, as quick as you possibly can. And if you need assistance, I recommend getting a software. You can check out Guesty in the link below. Number 2 is details, details, details. Remember that your guest does not know what you know. They are probably new to the area. They are new to your house. Make sure you're giving them very, very precise details so there's no confusion. Step number 3 is do not say no. Again, do not say no. Try to avoid that word at all costs. It is a very negative word. It creates a negative connotation. Nobody likes hearing the word no. And number 4 is make sure you utilize the power of options. Give your guests options. Make sure you're solution oriented in giving those options. And this way your guests will feel better about their experience. And then of course, number 5 is do not apologize unless it is your fault. Don't apologize for things out of your control. Thank your guests and then solve the problems quickly. If you thank your guests and solve the problems quickly, they will have a great experience and they will appreciate you as a host. But because you didn't apologize, they're not going to feel like someone did them wrong. Okay? These are some great tips, guys. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. As always, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you next time.